Hey, what's happening, Every Nation family? My name is Siviwe, and it is such a privilege to continue with our series through this amazing theological foundation manual, We Believe. Today, we're going to be looking at chapter 3 of the manual, the Doctrine of Creation and the Fall. This is our belief statement. We believe God created all things, visible and invisible, out of nothing, and all very good. He sovereignly sustains and governs creation for his glory and the benefit of his creatures. God created humans in his image, male and female, to know, love, and glorify him in covenant relationship and to serve as stewards of the earth. The first man, Adam, sinned against God, resulting in alienation, death, guilt, shame, and a curse upon the earth. Separated from God and subject to his judgment, all humans have inherited a sinful nature from which they cannot save themselves. Arguably the most important 7 words ever written and ever uttered, the first 7 words in the Bible. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. For the early listener, those who were the original hearers of these words, they wouldn't have understood the earth and the heavens the way we do. They wouldn't have an idea of a globe. They understood the word heavens and earth as meaning God has created everything up there and everything down here. It's foundational. Before anything and anything we can conceive regarding theology, to know that God is the one who created all things. This statement in Genesis 1 verse 1 is actually not intended to be a scientific statement. It's actually meant to be more of an apologetic. The people of the time had an idea that there were gods for different parts of nature. There was a God who handled the rain, a God who handled livestock, a God who handled grain. The writer of Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 is making an apologetic that they aren't gods, but there is only one God who's created heaven and earth, all things above and all things beneath. This is critical to our faith. And it allows us to begin the story where the story should begin, and that is God has made all things good. Yeah, the way the Bible actually breaks this down for us is that God actually creates out of nothing. The scriptures in Hebrew translate this seeming darkness and waters as in a Hebrew word called tohu vavohu. It's this sense of this chaotic, uninhabitable place that now God creates tov. He creates good out of that which was chaotic, formless, and void. And what he creates is order, beauty, all of which begins to produce life. Now, because of God's creation, this becomes a place that one can inhabit, one can live in. Life can actually take place right here in God's creation. God made all things, and the characteristics of all that he's made is this: good, good. Not only has God made all things good, that they are ordered, they're beautiful, and they are producing life, they are interconnected together and working well together. Not only has he done all of that, but God has also governed and governs everything he's made. The idea that God is one who creates and then leaves his creation is not a biblical idea. In fact, what we believe as Christians and what we have always believed as Christians is that God is not only just superior and above all things, but God is also eminent. He has chosen deliberately to work in his creation for his glory, but also for our own good. This God has not created and left, but he has created and drawn close. He is powerful and personal at the same time. He is preeminent and eminent all at the same time. God made all things good, and yet God governs everything he has made by his preeminence and his eminence as well. In the middle of all that he has created, we are told that God also has made humans in his image. The truth of the matter is the idea of humans being made in the image of God is such a profound and grand idea that we do not have the time to try and even come near to unpacking. But the fact that we are made in God's image sets us apart from all other creation. The fact that we're made in God's image means that we are intellectual. We have this idea of self-awareness. We can think, we can reason, we can learn. It also means that we are made ethical, that we can distinguish between that which is right and that which is wrong. It also means that we are emotional beings, that we can feel the full range of emotions and even the in-between nuances in our emotions. It also means that we are teleological. In other words, our spirit, we have a spirit that will live forever and one that longs for both purpose and responsibility. And we can act in eternally significant ways. We're also relational, having the privilege to be able to relate with the creator of the universe and also relate with his image bearers and create community. One of the separating factors of us being made in the image of God, and very important to note, that both male and female are made in the image of God. In other words, males alone cannot fully represent what the image of God ought to look like. We need both male and female to be able to demonstrate to the world the reality of the imago Dei. Females can't do it by themselves. Males can't do it by themselves. God has designed that both male and female become the earthly representative of what it means to be the imago Dei. And so not only are we created as image bearers, but being image bearers, God has given us divine authority to take the raw materials of the world and continue advancing the tov that he had created, the good that he had brought into the world, that we are meant to take from the raw materials of the earth and continuously create for the sake of human flourishing, but also for the glory of God. And it's in the middle of that purpose, in the middle of that original mandate, that we hear of a talking snake. Now, it is worthwhile noting that anytime a snake talks, it's not good news. It's a reminder to us that God did not create the earth and the heavens perfect, but he created them good. Right here in the middle of this beautiful garden where there is abundance, there is lushness, all that God has created and intended for his people captured in this beautiful Garden of Eden right there, slap bang in the middle, is a snake trying to allure the humans, the image of God bearers, to believe that God is not good. And we are told that Eve looks at the tree that she's not meant to eat. There's the tree of life in the garden, but also there's the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And she looks at the fruit and she begins to consider in her mind, no, this fruit must be good for eating. And so she takes of the fruit. She gives to Adam, and both of them eat. And we are now told in this moment that we have humans rebelling against God. And you might not deem that the simple act of eating a fruit or from the tree that they were told not to eat of could be tantamount to being rebellious. I think that's what they thought. I mean, how bad can it get? If I just eat of this one little fruit, how bad can things get? The reality is this, is that what they did by eating of the fruit is that they have chosen to live outside the definitions and the authority of God. And instead, they have determined to live in their own definitions of what's right and wrong in the world. And they've chosen to live outside God's authority and in their own authority. You look around right here in this moment, at this time in history, and the reality of all the chaos in the world originates from this moment. Man's desire to define for themselves what is good and what is bad, and to live outside the definitions of God and outside the authority of God. Humans rebel against God. And in their rebellion, they begin to realize that sin has entered the world, that all humans now have become sinful. And this sinful is not like the cancer that's treated by a doctor. It's the cancer that's infected you as the patient. It's worked itself in the crevice of your life, in every single part of your being. It's worked itself into your bloodstream. It is moving in your life in such a way that we see that relationships are shattered. Between Adam and Eve, they begin to blame each other. Relationships are shattered between humans and God. They run away from God, although God pursues them. Even in creation, there's going to be a tension between the woman and the womb and the man and the soil. All because sin has entered the world. Now, you and I are therefore born into this reality. It's why all humans, as Romans 3:10-12 tells us, all humans are now sinful. And none of us are born without this sin cancer playing out in our life. All of us have this sin cancer in our bloodstream, flowing in our being. And we cannot save ourselves. We're in desperate need for God to do something. In desperate need for God to bring redemption and restoration so that we might be reconciled with Him. As I end, I would love to leave you with this thought, or at least leave you with this idea. Notice in Genesis 3 how when man sins, they run away from God, but God walks towards them. What area of your life are you running away from God? But do you notice that God is pursuing you? And His main question to you in the midst of your fig leaves and hiding and shame and guilt is, where are you? It is a question not because God doesn't know where you are. It's an invitational question. Will you respond? Will you come close to Him? Will you take responsibility and repent? For right here in this moment, the only way into redemption, into reconciliation, into restoration is God and God alone. I want to encourage you to grab a copy of We Believe Manual. I want to encourage you to purchase it, work through it, take your connect groups through it, take your church through it, take your leadership team through it as well. And I hope that it will be a blessing for you. Now, I want to leave you with this. May the Lord continue to bless you and keep you. May the Lord cause His face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up His countenance upon you and give you shalom, now and forever.